see how this warning. Please configure both. Okay. Hopefully that's good. Hello, everybody. This is Dwayne.
And Lori.
And this is, Edge of Nowhere Farm. This is the Desert Farmer Podcast. Wanted to say hello to everybody. I know we've got a few people jumping in here. Daryl. Hey, Daryl. Hello in Louisiana. So, Daryl, we can always count on you to be here. Thank you for being here today. So, we are going to be talking about spring. Oh, I'll tell you what. So, this morning was actually pretty cold. It was weird.
It was chilly. We had to put a jacket back on.
Yeah, so we were getting up into the mid-50s, which is pretty common for us. And we're here at the beginning of March, and not uncommon to see 90-degree days. Haven't been there yet. But we have had a couple days in the 80s this week. I don't think we're going to quite get there this week, this coming week, but cooling off a little bit and a little chilly here in the mornings. But otherwise, you can definitely tell it's spring. So before we go too far, we are going to take a look at what we've been harvesting here all winter long, and we finish up here in the spring, and that would be?
Citrus.
Yes. So I'm going to test you.
I'm not going to test me?
I'm going to test you. I'm not going to keep these in any order. I'm going to do the easy one first.
Okay.
Okay. What is
Gold
that?
Nugget Mandarin.
Gold Nugget Mandarin. I'm going to do that there so you guys can see that. I'm not sure if it's going to
Can tell it's usually
focus.
got really like...
It's wrinkly.
Yeah.
Dimply, wrinkly.
There you go.
So easy to peel, right?
Very easy to peel.
So, yep. So there's a lot of, the pith is kind of stiff. Ooh, you can really see look at that. A lot of zest. Can you smell that?
We just picked them literally like 5 minutes ago.
We did. Okay. So next one, these first ones are all mandarins to make it easy for you.
Okay.
All right.
So that one is the Tango Mandarin.
Right. So now the
That
gold
one's
nugget.
really easy to peel.
Super easy to peel. So these are the little cuties that you find in the grocery store. Mm-hmm. They can be several different varieties, but this one is really common. It is seedless. So the gold nugget is not. So that's a seeded mandarin. Well, I guess it's kind of mostly, it is mostly seedless, but you always get a few seeds. That's because we have seeded citrus here on the farm.
Yeah.
Okay, next one, this little guy.
That one is the Honey Mandarin.
Right. So this one, we've been actually eating this for a couple months now.
Yeah.
Right. So the daisy, which we don't have here today, it's the first one to ripen, usually I think in October. And then this guy here usually comes in about the same time, maybe into November. So this one is not normally this size.
I did not do
There we go.
sound.
Try it again. Sorry about that, guys.
I did not do very good thinning this year on citrus, so those were a lot of them and really tiny.
Right. So this is probably, I'm going to say about the size of a ping pong ball. So the good news is these are seeded, but it's kind of like seedless because the seeds are so small because the fruit is so small. Maybe that's what you meant. Okay, going up in size. So we've got 3 mandarins that are all ripe, completely ripe now. Mm-hmm. So we're still harvesting those. There's still a few on there. Trees are starting to leaf out.
Oh my goodness, there's so much new growth and flowers and
And flowering. Got several of them starting to flower. So this guy here.
That is our blood orange.
Correct. So sanguinelli, I think is how you pronounce that. So this orange is a blood orange. Now, the key with this one is getting some really, really cold weather. And that's when you start to get kind of this reddish tinge to that. So that's kind of your normal looking orange. Hopefully the lighting's not too weird. So that's kind of a normal looking orange there. And you can see you get this red shade. So that's that cold weather that we get here in the wintertime. We were down to mid 20s this year. And this just has a beautiful dark red color. If we have some time during the stream today, maybe I'll get that one open. So now this one. So that's
our Cara Cara orange.
Right. So Cara Cara, this one is just an amazing seedless, basically navel orange. Got a little bit of a pink tinge to it, the flesh itself. So I like that because that just means more antioxidants. But you can tell this one's got some good weight to it.
Yeah, those were we only got a handful of those on the tree this year, but they were all good size.
Yeah, so just a beautiful fruit there. Mm-hmm. And then last but not least, your favorite these days for drinks, What is
Oh,
that?
that's our ruby red grapefruit.
Yes. And so now these fruit, there's a little bit of pink, if you can pick that up on camera. So there's obviously the flesh itself is pink.
Yeah.
This one still actually is ripening. So
Yeah, there's some that are still have a little bit of green.
A little bit of
I believe
green.
That has a little green on it too.
Yep. So these guys here, this tree, you saw flowers today. Was it flowers or just leaves?
That I saw new growth on.
New
on the
growth.
tree.
Okay. So this one's not flowering quite yet. These will continue to harvest into April.
Yeah.
Right? So these actually get a little bit sweeter as you get further in towards summer.
I don't know if they'll last that long though.
Why?
Well, because I don't have any more lemons on my tree, so I can't make lemon drop martinis. So I've been making grapefruit martinis.
So it's kind of like a grapefruit drop, but there's a lot of grapefruit in there.
They're really good.
They're really good. So it's super, super juicy. And that tree is got a ton of fruit on it. So obviously getting towards the end of citrus. Now, one of the things here in Arizona, and let's just say hi to everybody first. Slam Boy, what's up, man? How you doing?
Pro 4X Expeditions. Hi.
So
They also said I was at Tractor Supply here in Surprise and saw they are selling avocado trees. Do avocados do well here in the valley heat?
okay, so that's a great question, and the answer is generally no. Well, avocados don't do well here, period. Now, if you do some things for them, you can have some success. Now, the Arizona Aravipa, my understanding from videos that I've seen, is that those can do well, but they need protection. Wintertime protection and summertime protection, both, especially when they're smaller. Even when they're fully large trees, you get down into the 20s, that will kill an avocado tree. So that is the biggest challenge with avocado. They're real finicky for us here. So we don't do them here. We're way too cold and don't have the time to baby them in the summer and winter, but you would need to do both. So who else we got?
Well, Slam Boy had mentioned that Google Earth finally updated our farm from dirt.
It's about time. So
We're
that's
actually on the map now.
okay. So we moved here in 2019. So that's what, going on 5 years? I guess now we know.
All right, and then we have Peter enjoying your videos here in New Jersey, Zone 6A.
Oh, hey, very good. Jersey.
6A.
Man, that is cold. That makes me chilly right now. So we were just complaining about the fact that it was cold this morning. We had jackets on, and it was what, 45
Yeah.
Fahrenheit? So it really actually wasn't all that cold, but to us it is.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
So obviously, yeah. So this time of year we had February. So what happened in February?
Well, a lot of things happen. Are you
that's
getting
true.
at the biggest thing that I had to fertilize fruit trees?
There you go. That's what I was doing. That's what I was trying to get at. So, and you got it done in time.
Yes. Well, thanks to Gayla coming in helping me, and then she had a friend in town visiting from California, and she came over and helped also.
Yep. So you put everybody to work.
When we fertilized trees.
But you got that done this week before the end of February.
Yeah.
So that doesn't always happen.
Yeah.
So now we had talked. So as a reminder for you guys, and we're still at the beginning of March, so it still counts. But our fertilizing months are February,
May,
and September. So easiest thing to remember is your holidays. It's Valentine's Day, Memorial Day, and Labor Day. Those are the days, or those are the months that we are fertilizing here if you're using a regular fertilizer. So a granular fertilizer, if you're using compost, some type of solid fertilizer, if you're using that for your fertilizer, you want to do that 3 times a year. And those are the timeframes for us here in Arizona. So now that you can kind of take that and adjust it month-wise for different parts of the country. So we do that just before bud break, or right at about the same time in February. We do that basically at the peak of production or going into it, which is May. And then for us, we do that again at the end of the growing season or going into the last month and a half of the growing season in September, because we're still have growth, our fall flush in October, even into November. So those are the time frames that you're going to want to look at for fertilizing. Mm-hmm. So now the exception to that would be liquid fertilizers. Those you would apply more often. And those you're going to apply typically every month just prior to the growing season. So the breaking of dormancy, all the way through basically the month before they go dormant. That's typically when you would use your liquid fertilizer, so you apply them more often. So now we had talked a little bit this morning about a test we want to do. We haven't shared with you guys or talked about it yet when it comes to fertilizing. So one of the questions that we get here all the time is, why don't we have a more permaculture food forest setup to the whole farm and the fruit trees in particular? There's several reasons why we don't, but the primary one was to make sure that we could focus on tree growth and production. We didn't want anything inhibiting that, and we needed to get those trees up and running and productive as quickly as possible. So we focused on the trees first, realizing that it's going to take a few years to produce, and then we have all the other things going on around the farm. The second thing is, we don't want, because everybody here knows we have extreme weather, especially during the summertime. So anything in and around the roots and the root zone of that fruit tree, especially in the first few years, can be very detrimental to the tree. So we didn't want to have anything down there. We wanted to focus on developing and building soil around the tree, letting the tree itself establish really well. So what we're going to be doing now, and lastly, fertilizing. It needed to be easy for us to pull the wood chips back and fertilize the trees well, again, to give them that nutrition during the growing season. So now that we have the trees more established, what we're looking at doing is trying something a little bit different as far as fertilizing is concerned. So we'll be sharing that with you guys as we go into May. So you guys can all hold us to that.
That was so mean.
Yeah. So, but we're going to be trying something a little bit different, doing some testing here to see what we can do going into the growing season, and specifically with fertilizing on the trees. So more to come on that. So February, done with February, right? We always look at this point at the last frost date. So for you guys in town in Phoenix, your guys' last frost date is officially the middle of February. For us out here in Whitman, we've learned that that's really the beginning of March. So last weekend, we saw that we did not have any freezing temps in the forecast, which means we started planting.
Yes.
So we have 2 new fruit trees that we put into the ground. We'll be sharing with you guys over the next couple of episodes here over the next couple of weeks. In fact, I think tomorrow, we are posting a video for you guys tomorrow that will be one of those. So we got that one. A second one that we put in, actually, I think it was right before that. So you guys will watch that one going in. We put into the duck and goose enclosure. So we fill the spot that we decided to make there. So we'll share that with you guys. But we also got beds done, right? So
we got, I think we only have 3 out of our 9. How many beds do we have? No, we have 12.
We have 12 total.
So we
6 spring, 6 fall.
Yeah, so we have
officially
3 left to go to put something in.
Right, so we planted out what?
So we did some zucchini.
Black Beauty, which is our favorite.
And then we have beds that already have garlic and the e-toy onion still in them. And we planted a couple beds of radishes. So we can get some fermentation going.
That is by far our favorite thing with radishes.
Yeah.
So they grow really fast. You can do a couple cycles of them if you get them in right at the very beginning of the growing season for us here. They only take about 30 to 45 days, so you could get at least 2 solid rounds of production on those if you get them in early. So we're looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And we got 3 more beds to plant. So
Yes.
still got some work to do there.
Yeah.
But the 3 pepper plants we saw this morning,
All have growth on them.
they all have growth. So those 25 degrees, those died back completely. But down towards the base, we have some new growth. We got 3rd season on the jalapenos, right? And 2nd season on the banana pepper.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how that does.
Yep.
So got any questions or say howdy to people?
All right, so we have, how about the ladies in heat, hens, LOL. What do you guys do to get them through the heat?
The
hens.
Yeah, sure. So the only things, a couple primary things for us here. The first thing would be shade. You have to have shade for your chickens pretty much at all times, but especially for our summer times. Now, shade, but not enclosed. So they still need to be out in the open with full airflow
Yeah.
completely through their enclosure and their coop. So you do not want them actually cooped up at all, especially during the summertime. They need to have complete airflow. So we've got some videos that we've shot on raising layers in Arizona. I don't think we can link them here very easily, but you'll find them here on YouTube. The only additional thing we do once we get above 100 degrees is...
We actually do like tubs of water with bricks in it so that they can get in it and stand in that water on the bricks, and it helps to cool them from their feet up. So that is really the only thing like extra that we do during the summertime for any of our hens.
Yep. So no misting systems. We've never used those. We don't have fans. Don't worry about cooling the water down. We get that question all the time. Is what do you do to cool the water down? Absolutely nothing. So the water cups are underneath the shade. The barrel is semi-shaded with the tree. So I will say that holds the water. But I can tell you and this is what I always like to tell everybody. So remember that chickens, number one, those are jungle fowl. They're used to very, very warm temps year round. So warmth is really where they thrive. Second thing is watch birds in the city during the middle of the summer. What are they drinking? Puddles.
Water anywhere. Yeah.
They'll drink water anywhere. And so you'll see your chickens do the exact same thing. So if you spill water on the ground, they don't care that the ground's 140 degrees and the water's, 105, 110, 120. They don't care. They're drinking that water. So in the end, those things, if you want to do them, sure, not going to hurt. We never have, and we have, knock on wood, never lost a chicken in the summer.
Yeah.
So...
All right, Slam Boy, my first vid was the old place dirt to pasture.
Oh wow. Oh my goodness.
That's crazy.
Yeah, you've been here a long time.
Yeah.
That was what, 6 years ago? Maybe 7 years ago?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know what that looks like. We'll have to follow up and see how the old place is looking. But so we've got the pasture here. Obviously we started in the fall of 2020, I think is about when we put that in. And it's finally gotten to the point where it's almost entirely green. So it's come a long way. I'll tell you one thing, Slamboy, that we didn't have there was alfalfa. We hadn't found alfalfa yet. And that has really become our go-to. The birds love it. We basically have it almost year-round. Middle of winter, it really struggles a little bit because it prefers the heat. But it muscles through summer as long as it keeps some moisture on it. It's done really well. So...
all right. So my trees are still in pots. Should I fertilize them? I plan on planting them this month.
So, okay. So you're going to have to let us know if you're here in Arizona. So, because if you are, it depends on what you're putting in the ground at this point as to whether you're going to you need to do it now. So
planting.
Yeah. So if you're here in Arizona, assuming it's stone fruit, pome fruit, which is apples, pears and that kind of thing.
It's planting season.
Planting season now. So I would get them in the ground. As far as fertilizing, no. So the only thing that we do fertilizing wise that we've come to find is just really ideal. We do some fish emulsion and some vitamin B1. I will tell you, the jury's out on the vitamin B1. I don't know that it necessarily does what it says that it does, but we've always used it. And we've had really good success with our trees when planting. So we take those two things. You do a tablespoon of fish emulsion, a tablespoon of vitamin B. No, I'm sorry. 2 tablespoons of fish emulsion, 2 tablespoons of vitamin B1. Mix those with about 2 gallons of water. Put that in the bottom of the hole. Fill the hole up halfway with dirt. Fill that. Don't fill it with water, but get that saturated with that same solution. Get the tree completely planted. Dig your ring around the tree, and then fill that ring with that fish emulsion vitamin B1 mixture. Plenty of nutrition for that newly planted tree. It doesn't need more than that. And you're fine.
Is there only one kind of avocado?
No. So there's several different varieties of avocado, sizes, and also where they're from. So where they originate from. The Arizona Aravaipa, my understanding, my understanding of it is that was found somewhere out near like the Superstitions or something like that. I don't know, in a wash or in a gully or something. And somebody found that tree growing. I don't know exactly where that is and if that's true, but that seems to be the one that does best for folks here. So, but yeah, there's definitely different varieties. Like the Haas avocado is really well known in California and real common for us to find here. There's also another one I know, it's really big and it's round, more like a this shape is more like a citrus, and I can't remember the name of that. If you guys can comment, if you guys know what that is, let us know. I don't remember the name.
All right, I know you guys said you didn't care for the taste of pawpaw. Well, I had my first harvest of pawpaw fruit last year. I thought they were delicious.
Yes. So now I will say that the pawpaws that we were gifted, we had some folks that visited us from back east. They brought pawpaws with them. So my guess is they were at least a few days old off the tree. So, and I don't know if they were overripe. Mm-hmm. So, but they had a kind of a custard consistency, and they almost tasted semi-fermented. So I think part of it might have been that they were a little overripe. So I would like to try them, but I know the issue that we have here is humidity. We just don't have enough humidity for pawpaws to do well. I think at some point in time we probably ought to try. Haven't done it yet. So they are close to mango, except the consistency is like a custard. So.
You know I have a texture issue too. All right, we got Coyote's Den Homestead.
Hey, what's up, neighbor?
Hey, guys.
Haven't seen you for a while or heard from you. Hope you guys are doing well, getting settled in. Howdy.
All right, and then Trevor Long. I was hoping this was Ice Age Farmer. Just with a name change.
No, not quite. I have listened to his podcast a few times. So he's got some interesting takes on things going on around the world, specifically with food. But yeah, no, it's not. So we're kind of the opposite of Ice Age.
Yeah. All right, we got George. Oops, joining late. George here.
Hey, how's it going, George? Howdy.
All right, then.
Good. Is that Aaron?
And then we have Aaron.
Hey.
My neighbor. So good to see you again. You're looking very tan. I noticed my farmer's tan already starting.
Oh, yeah. You got
on
it.
my arm.
We don't need to show off too much.
Tank tops.
I mean, I've got so my guns are BB guns, but yeah, you could definitely see it's getting there.
Yeah. And he said tree flowers everywhere.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure, especially for you in the city.
Yeah,
so
they're exploding.
Oh, yeah. I know I was driving home. Obviously, I come back in through surprise. And I was driving home. I think it was Thursday. Might have been yesterday. Either way. I was driving through town and just coming out past 60 and 303. And I looked at my at the temp. I think it was 82 degrees, 83 degrees. So, yeah, that's prime time for fruit trees. So I'm sure your fruit trees are having a blast. Good to hear. Good. We caught up?
Nope, we have a hello all.
Oh, howdy.
And then we have Aaron again. Our everberry mulberry is having a massive fruit crop started.
Nice.
Yeah, we'd like to attempt to make wine with it. Any suggestions on what variety that's blocked? Of yeast.
Oh, yeah.
To ferment in a gallon jar.
Yep. So great question. Glad you asked, Aaron. Let's talk about wine for a minute. So actually, we were just talking about the fact that we're going to be harvesting for wine here in just a couple months. So Mulberry is probably one of our favorite wines. We should have had some.
So good.
So it's a wonderful wine, very, very dark. It's got a good amount of tart to it. You got to be careful because it's very easy if you're going to watch the amount of acidity because they can be very basic or alkaline or very acidic depending on the variety. Those tend to be fairly acidic, so you're not going to need to do a whole lot as far as adding acid to it, at least in our experience. As far as yeast, we always use Premier Cuvée and Premier Blanc, Red Star yeast. We always use those because we like a higher alcohol content. And so those two yeasts are known to have a very high alcohol tolerance. So we use those for pretty much all of our wines. I think one of the things that we learned this year, there's a handful of varieties that will probably do better with less alcohol. And we're also going to want to start kind of playing around a little bit with attenuating or not fully attenuating. So leaving some of the sugar in the finished wine so that it has some of the natural sugar from the fruit itself, which we haven't done before. So I think we're going to try some of that. Particularly, though, not with fruit wines. I think we're going to really focus on one or two of the grape wines and see if we can get more of a natural sweetness to those. So with those, we'll use a different yeast, closer to maybe bread yeast. So the alcohol content isn't as high and some of the natural sugars stay in there. So long answer to your question, Premier Cuvée, Premier Blanc, if you want a fully attenuated, looking for high alcohol content, those are great options. The Red Star line of yeast has a lot of different options in there. So if you're, test your specific gravity, mulberries can be very, very sweet. So it wouldn't be uncommon for you to have, it won't be uncommon for you to have, a 10, 11, or even 12% potential alcohol. So if you wanted to leave some of the natural sugar in there, you wouldn't use those two yeasts. So there's some other ones in that line that maybe top out at about 8 or 9% alcohol, where they'll die off at that if you want to have some leftover natural sugars. So too much information.
That's a lot of information.
I like my wine making.
I know.
I think I like making it more than drinking it, I'll be honest with you.
All right, Slam Boy said Monroe avocado.
Monroe. Ooh, yeah, is that the big one? Is that the big one, Slam Boy? So I have not heard of that. I know Haas. I don't remember what the other one was.
I don't know. Then we have Raina. Hello. Good to see you two again. I always enjoyed your videos and learned so much.
Awesome.
And then Slam Boy, farmer's tan is better than my trucker's tan.
So what's a trucker's tan? Is that your left arm and your knuckles, your top of your hand? I'm curious.
Oh, because arm out the window.
Right. Arm up on the window and then the windshield. I would think it would be those two, but I'm not sure.
That's funny.
Hey, is that Alan and Dan? Hey, look at that. We got the old crew here. That's cool. We got Chris. We got Dan. We got Alan. Slam Boy's there. Awesome.
Aaron, got everybody.
That's cool. It's so cool to see you guys here. Thank you guys for being here. That is so cool. Hey, you know what? If you guys haven't done so, like this bad boy. So if you can, so that'll help kind of get the word out on the podcast. So have everybody come join us. Get the rest of the crew back together. All right, you watch for.
All right, Sandra said Mexicola avocado.
That sounds interesting. Very interesting. All right, watch that. So as far as March, so I want to focus in a little bit more on March. We'll come back to you guys' questions, promise. So when it comes to March, specific things that you want to make sure you're getting done in the month of March, planting season. We had somebody here ask a question on fruit trees. You definitely need to get those in the ground now. So now is absolutely the time for all of them. It doesn't matter which ones. The only exception to that, in my opinion, is the loquat. We always plant that in October. So we plant that in the fall. But with the exception of that particular tree, now is the time. So we're past that frost. I don't see frost in the forecast even for us out here. So if you guys are in and around the Phoenix area, now's the time. Tucson, probably the same. So yeah, definitely planting season. Same thing for all of your beds. If you're going to be transplanting, at this point, no frost means transplant time. So you want to get those transplants into your beds if you haven't done so already. Again, especially in the city. And we have a lot of trees that at this point are flowering and starting to set fruit. So we don't do a whole lot with that in March, but come April, we'll start thinning. So now, if you're of the opinion that you should thin during the blossom stage, now, of course, would be the time to do that. We prefer not to do that. We've had very good success thinning after the fruit is set, and we know that set is firm, meaning we're not going to get a wind that's going to drop half of the fruit. That can happen, especially if you don't get they're not fully pollinated. So we always like to make sure that we have a nice solid fruit set, and then we come back and thin, which for us is usually in April. And especially for citrus like honey mandarins, if you guys weren't here earlier.
I did so bad at thinning citrus this year. So bad.
That's okay. So I know, most of it was thinned well.
Well, I had helpers helping me during that time, and I think we totally skipped the honey.
So
I don't
maybe
think that got done at all.
Maybe what you'll need to do with the helpers this time is lead, which is a better lead.
You're so mean. All right, so hello. Just started watching your videos, and they are super helpful. Just curious. I live in Las Vegas. Do you know if my climate is similar to yours? I got a couple of citrus trees I plan to plant.
Perfect. So the answer is yes and no. So yes, it's hot, just like we are. You're dry, just like we are. You're also very cold, just like we are. Now, we've got several viewers in Las Vegas. We got a good friend of the farm, Kevin, who visits us all the time. He shared a lot of what he's doing in Vegas. And I can get you guys connected. So if you're in Vegas, email us, info@eonfarm, EONFARM.com. Use that email address, email us, and we'll see if we can get you connected with Kevin. He is very, very well versed with Vegas.
Yeah.
And is doing a great job in Vegas with fruit trees. He's got a lot going on and has been very successful. I know that sandy soil and rocky soil, both of those are quite a bit different from what we face out here that you may be facing there. So I know those are a similar challenge, but varieties and timing for a lot of the things that we do are basically the same. So your fertilizing months are the same. Your planting season is the same. Your growing season, the length of it is basically the same. Your challenges with the heat, challenges with the cold, the same. So I'd say you've got citrus. That's a great start. Those should do wonderfully for you. Good start. Stone fruit, pome fruit. Stone fruit meaning peaches, plums, apricots, things like that should do well for you. There's a handful of apple varieties, the same ones we grow here, that will do well for you. Berries, mulberry trees will do fantastic for you. Same thing with most of your grapes will do really well also. Pretty much what you see us growing here. Mm-hmm. So the one thing that we don't really do here that you might want to avoid, I know some folks here have had some success, is tropicals. Tropicals can be a real challenge because you guys have those really, really cold winters. They would really be a challenge for you. Yeah. So I'd say especially now just starting out, avoid those at least for now.
All right. Good afternoon, Dwayne and Lori. What are each of your favorite fruits from the orchard?
Should you go first?
I honestly don't know if I can name just one favorite.
Let's do it by season. Go.
Loquats.
Okay. Ooh. Can't disagree with that.
Well, they ripen after citrus. They ripen first.
and those, depending on how warm we are in March, we could get one before the end of March.
Yeah.
So we could harvest those this month. Okay. Yeah. That's fair. Next.
My next favorite?
Uh-huh. Let's move into stone fruit. So you got that one, right?
Well, obviously peaches.
Mm-hmm. So peaches are fantastic.
And I think I've switched from a Florida Prince to a Texas King.
I'd have to agree. So Reed's got those because he's doing that test for Texas A&M. Really good. It is fantastic. Yeah. So, yeah.
As far as another stone fruit, the blueberries.
Oh, the blueberries are really good. The sweet treat blueberry.
It's so hard to name.
I know.
You can't because then you got mulberries.
Okay, so the question. Okay, so now, this is a legit question. We have to pick one. Okay, you're gonna pick one. I have
to only pick one.
You got to pick one. We got to narrow it down to one.
Oh my goodness.
So what is it gonna be? Go ahead.
Texas King Peach.
Okay, that's fair. Mine would have to be a Shangri-La mulberry.
Really? Okay.
I love Shangri-La mulberries. And I know they're early, so they ripen early, and they're before peaches. And so, the loquats are good, don't get me wrong, but I'd say it probably has to be a Shangri-La mulberry. So.
All right. There you go.
There you go. Yep. But yeah, after that, all of them.
I know. It's so hard to choose. That's why we have so many varieties.
I know. It's ridiculous.
They're all so good.
Middle of winter, the citrus is like, the citrus is amazing.
Is so good. Then we'll get sick of citrus.
At this point, we're like, citrus again.
We've been eating citrus every single day for months.
Yeah. But hey, you know what? It's one of the major differences for us here in Arizona that you don't get in some of the more temperate climates. We have citrus. And so there's only a handful of states that can grow that commercially. So it's easier to grow. We're one of them. So that gets you from basically October. We'll have citrus in April. So from October to April, we're eating citrus every day. So, that's not typical for most folks here in the U.S.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So we have Dan working on my March tan.
Oh, yeah. Isn't it amazing how fast that happens, man. Dan? So fast. Those first couple of weekends where you can get shorts on, and we had sandals on last weekend.
I know. It's so funny.
It was great.
All right. You got Rob.
Hey, what's up, Rob? Guys. How's it going?
Late, but not missed.
Hey, there's Kevin.
There's Kevin. Hi, guys. Do you prune your blackberries about now, too?
So yes and no. So we basically only prune out dead material on the blackberries. I did notice the Primark, they're starting to come back. There's still some dead branching in there we actually missed. Usually that happens in the fall when you get your primicanes that finish, like with Primarks, it's kind of the second year. Once those are done, they die. We just prune out all the dead material. That's really about all we do. We don't really do a lot of proactive pruning. We will shape some things. So if things are getting out of control, we'll shape them. But other than that, we kind of let them go.
Yeah.
So
there's some flowers on the blackberries I saw this morning.
Oh, that's another really good wine.
Yeah, and already a berry started on one.
Oh, okay. So blackberries are good too. I said I'm gonna stick with mulberries. Still my favorite.
Okay. So we got Brian. Hey guys, any plans for your back pasture area?
Yes. So we have right now. So the pigs that we're growing for folks this year for our pork program, those we're finishing. In fact, we're about halfway, a little more than halfway through taking those to the processor, to the butcher. So those are on that back acreage. So they were actually the first things back there besides a huge pile of wood chips. Yes. However, we're limited on what we can do back there with water. We pretty much can't irrigate anything else. So the blackberry or mulberries that are back there, that's it. So we are going to be looking at some permaculture type pasture, some savanna type pasture that we want to kind of work into that area. I don't know whether or not we'll get to that this year because we have another animal that we need to bring onto the farm first. Right?
Yeah. All right, Slam Boy, Southern Nevada here. Stake your plants. The wind is getting bad.
There you go. Boom.
Very good tip.
Yep.
And Sandra, do you have date palms?
We do not have date palms. So I know we had a lot of folks suggest those. And the fact that we can't irrigate the back, maybe we ought to put one or two in there. Just came up with that. I'm not going to lie.
So the reason why we have not done date palms is because neither one of us like dates.
Okay. So to be fair, I haven't had a really fresh date. I've always had dried dates. So, and you say, and I can't disagree, they look like cockroaches.
They do. They creep me out.
So, but in the end, yeah, we don't really eat dates. I think it might be worth trying them though, our own. We'll see.
You know what? And it's funny because I got a recipe from a friend of ours and it had dates on it. But from what I understand, it's almost like caramely.
Well, yeah. It's similar to that.
They freak me out.
So we don't have them yet, but it's we'll see. We might try some.
Yeah.
We might try some.
All right. And then we have... Oh, thank you for letting us know your favorite fruit. Now, what is your favorite wine from your fruit?
Whew.
That's the mulberry for me.
Yeah. Oh, man. So I like the Thompson is a really, really good white. And actually the Flame this year, we did something different with the Flame, and we haven't tried that yet because it hasn't aged enough.
Your favorite?
I know. Blackberry.
Oh, the blackberry is good.
Yeah, I'm going to go with blackberry.
Okay, I'll stick with mulberry.
Yep. I know it's hard to get away from the fruit wines, but last year we kind of messed up our true wine grape wines. We back sweetened them too much.
Yeah,
and so
too sweet for
yep.
us.
So we did a few this year where we didn't back sweeten at all. So I want to try those again because the Syrah was really good. So the Syrah is a fantastic red wine.
Yeah.
But a good back sweetened blackberry wine is hard to beat.
All right, I just planted a bare root Florida Prince peach tree and it has broken dormancy with flowers. Should I leave fruit set on it, being the first year of planting? No,
I wouldn't do it. So it's going to be hard not to.
You're going to want to leave that fruit on there.
You're really going to want to leave the fruit, but don't do it. So you really want to make sure this first season, that tree focuses on root growth, period. You want that getting established. You don't want it concentrating on anything else. So what that means is all the fruit comes off. You want to leave all of the branching on there. Do not trim it because branching equals root growth, because all of any green that you can get on that canopy, that's what's feeding those roots. So don't prune it unless something breaks or something like that. Leave all the branching on there. Let that leaf out as much as possible all the way through the end of the year. Stake it if necessary to make sure that it's not going to get blown over or hurt in the wind, depending on that situation for you, unless you're behind a block fence. So I would do all those things, but definitely pull the fruit. So don't want to take any chances there. So yeah, it could ripen. It's just not worth it. And Florida Prince peaches are amazing. Yeah. They're incredible. Really good. So yeah, you don't want to hurt that tree.
All right, Rob, my second year tomatoes, maybe, made it through the winter and are flowering. My third year mini bells are producing many veggies. And then all trees are producing leaves, and my fig is still dormant.
Yeah, and I think when figs are kind of one of the last things. So grapes, I think, are really the last thing for us to break dormancy. Pretty much the same as you. We're seeing growth on just about everything. Figs, the only thing on the figs that I'm seeing so far where we cut away, we try to have a single trunk on our fig trees. So we cut away anything growing down on the ground level. I am seeing some growth down there. So where we had to cut back at the roots. So I am seeing growth down there. Otherwise, yeah, nothing on the figs yet. They're coming though. So by the end of this month, they'll be there.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you've already got everything coming back to life. That's fantastic.
That's great.
Yeah, that's great.
All right. And Sandra said, tastes like honey. So the dates. I need to give it a fair try, but they. Yeah.
I agree. You do. You do.
Rob, my 4 blackberry bushes are flowering. Looking forward to them.
Oh, yes.
So good.
Blackberries are coming. I'm going to peel this Tango Mandarin.
Okay.
Sorry, I had a squirrel moment there. Sorry, everybody. I'm peeling a mandarin. So, see how easy that is.
All right, Dwayne Laurie, blend last year's too sweet with this year's dry wine.
Oh, actually, that's fantastic.
That's a really good idea.
Well, you know what, George? I would expect that from you. You are the master vintner for us here. So I'm going to take his word for it. He's probably right. So, I mean, you know, I've been talking a lot. I need to have a little bit of something. Which one is that?
This is the Tango.
Basically a cutie. So these are cuties that we grow here. Seedless. We'll probably have one seed. Usually there's one seed.
I didn't have any.
Fantastic.
All right, for Dwayne, how has your neighbor's transplanted tree been since recording? The lime tree.
Go ahead.
So, it is no longer there. And the biggest reason it was trying to come back, it was having new growth, and it's not protected. So we have free range cattle out here and
sheep.
And so they ate all the leaves and it finally died.
Yeah, it took about a year and a half. So it and every single time they would put on new branching, new leaves, and within a few weeks they were completely gone. So, and one time I saw the cattle there several times, and then the one time I saw Derek's sheep. And as soon as I saw that, I'm like, you know what? There's just no way.
Yeah, it needs to be protected.
It needed to be protected. So finally, it gave up the ghost.
Yep.
So I think it was last summer. No, summer before last. So
I can't remember.
Yeah, I think it
hung in there for quite a while.
It lasted about a year and a half. You want another piece?
Sure. All right, fastest growing tree you have?
Mulberries. So probably the Black Pakistan mulberry, I would have to say. That's probably the fastest. Only because they're continuing to grow and we let them. I mean, I suppose if we let the peach trees just go, they would probably be similar, but we prune them much heavier. So, but the Black Pakistan, it's hard to beat the growth. You know, technically, the fastest thing we have is our grapevines. So, because they'll get about 15 to 20 feet of growth every single year. So those are technically the fastest growing. But the Black Pakistan's probably the fastest. We good?
I think I'm caught up. I don't think I missed anybody.
Cool. How are we doing on time? Got a few more minutes. Okay. Citrus is really good. So I was gonna try to get this. Okay, I'm gonna step away. Or you step away. Or you stay and talk. It's one of the two. All right, I'm gonna be on my own. Yep.
get out that way.
Okay, so Lori's gonna,
You want
we're
me to
gonna,
cut it?
you can, I want to make sure we can show that. All right, I'm on my own. Everybody's got to be careful. So, let's see. All right, so question here or a comment. I'm not seeing a lot of bee activity in my backyard. Using Q-tips to hand pollinate. Any tips on attracting more bees to my yard? Or maybe I am just not seeing some sneak around. It's possible that you're not seeing some. We've pretty much always had bees, and your trees, anything that flowers, by the way, will attract bees. It doesn't matter what it is. Flowers are going to basically attract bees. There are a lot of pollinators that you can plant specifically for bees. Again, all your fruit trees will. You're going to know for sure once you start getting any type of fruit set. So obviously you're doing some hand pollinating, so it'd be hard to tell for sure. There is a good chance you're not seeing the bees. We have hives here on the farm, so we see a lot of bee activity. But even before we have those, we would still see it. You just wouldn't see as much of it. And so it is possible that you're not seeing it. There is possible that you may not have any, but my guess is you probably do. And then, any wildflower, any flower basically is going to attract those. Come on back, sweetie.
Sorry, gotta climb over here.
We're professionals. Okay. So hopefully I answered that question. All right. So that's a good shot right there. I don't know if it's gonna be in focus for you, but that is a sanguinelli blood orange. So you can see just how nice and beautiful dark that is. I mean, that is basically purple. So
Yeah,
I know,
it's really dark.
yeah. So we know we've got a lot of folks that can struggle sometimes with that color, but yeah, that one does good. The Moro blood orange, I don't think the Moro that we had on the old farm was quite that dark.
No,
No,
it wasn't.
No, but this one, yeah, you can see is doing fantastic. We'll eat that later. It'll get messy.
All right, you answered that. Favorite outdoor activity?
Oh boy. Is work required?
Does it have to actually be like, a chore, or can I just, hang out with my animals?
If we ever had time to just do that, it would be that. I would say probably I like sitting in the pasture in the evening. So in the fall, when it starts to cool down, that's one of my favorite times to watch the sun go down.
Yeah.
But there's not a long period of time where you can do that. Otherwise, it's just uncomfortable.
But an activity, harvesting fruit.
Oh, yeah. It's good in the beginning.
You get tired of it.
Once you get into like second and third month of straight harvesting. Yeah, but you know what? I will say this. My favorite activity. Ooh, I got a good one. You're going to agree with this. I think most of you guys will if you have fruit trees. My favorite activity is walking outside. It doesn't matter what time of day, picking a piece of fresh fruit and eating it right there at the tree.
Yeah.
That's my favorite activity.
It's so cool.
Yep. It
Especially
doesn't.
like a peach, so it's just dripping down
Oh,
your chin.
absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, peach, any of them are amazing that way. We do it with citrus still.
Yeah.
In fact, when we went to pick these, we even said we didn't actually go outside today and have citrus right there at the trees. So.
All right. Do you test your soil?
We did test it when we first moved on to the farm. We have not retested it. I think at some point in time we'll probably need to, but we did. And we used Logan Labs, and the results were they were what we expected. Our pH was 8.4, real high. Alkaline soil, not surprising. There was a lot of calcium. And so, actually there was a couple of the minerals that were decent. I don't remember the exact things. We actually have the results posted on the, it's called Posts, but I can't remember offhand, where we kind of post things, where we kind of write things out for you guys.
The community or
yeah,
something
that's
that?
it.
The community tab on
That's it. Yep.
YouTube?
So on the community tab here, we've got those posted. We did it, I don't know, I think a month or two after we got here. We did those soil results.
All right. So no, that's delicious. I'm thinking the blood orange.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
Okay, and then why do you ferment radishes? Wife is asking over my shoulder.
Yeah, so Rob, you'll have to check out the Healthy Farm Living channel. We did fermented radishes there. We talked about the fact of why we do that. The biggest reason is because they taste a lot better. I don't know. That's all there is to it. Unless we're using radishes to put into a fermentation, the only other time would be a limited amount of radishes that go into like a salad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, what else, we don't do anything else with them. And so, but I'll tell you what,
How about benefits of fermenting?
Yeah. Well, then obviously the benefits. So you have, the beneficial bacteria, the lactobacillus. So you have the probiotics in there. They get that tanginess, keeps some of its crispness. It loses some of the sharp flavor that a really good radish will have, and I can just eat them straight. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're really, really good.
Yeah, store a lot longer than
I'd say it's. I agree. I think it loses the sharpness, that real sharp, kind of real spicy, stingy kind of sharp flavor that it has. It loses that, so it softens that a bit, and so that it's enough.
Yeah,
it does that enough, and it's really good. And then it's a root. It's another root crop.
I have blood orange. Looks fantastic. Wildcat.
Yes. Blood oranges, I'll tell you, and they taste so good. They're just really good. Little tiny bit of bitterness in with the sweetness. Yeah, they're just really good. Amazing for you, too. I mean, that thing, look at that. That looks, well, it's not going to focus for you guys, but I mean, look at the color of that. That is purple, So you look at like blackberries and things like that. You want that dark tinge is what your antioxidants. It's real high antioxidants and just beautiful flavor.
All right, so my Japanese cherry blossoms get thousands of bees.
Ooh, I can only imagine.
Oh my goodness.
I can only imagine. I know the sweet treat pluary, same thing with all the tiny flowers on there because they're about the size of a cherry. Mm-hmm. That thing gets covered with them too.
All right, and then do you think the biodiversity on your farm is higher or lower than the surrounding desert landscape?
It's higher by far. So you can I think the best way to see that is to hear it. So, obviously we attract everything onto this farm. You name it, it wants to be here. So we have to force things to not. Like we have fencing up to force javelina out. We have fencing up to force the cattle out. The cattle literally will wander around the fencing wanting to come into the farm. So, but I think the best way to experience that is to hear it. So this morning we walked outside. There was no wind. It was perfectly clear outside. Sun hadn't come up yet. And all I heard was this cacophony of noise with all the birds. And not ours. So they weren't our birds that were making the noise. Well, some of the ducks are always loud. But is to hear that. So birds means you have bugs. You have a lot of bugs, and because that's what they're eating. Obviously we have water out, so we attract a lot of those birds. You take soil that we're creating, especially with some of the areas that have had wood chips for a long period of time. You take that soil and just move it away, and there's bugs. There's worm activity in most areas on the farm, and so you just don't have. Worms would be a good example. You walk off the farm, there are no worms.
Yeah.
There are none. So the only place they exist is here. We actually had several cardinals that basically call the area home. And so I'm not even exactly sure where those came from, to be honest with you. So yeah, much, much higher. And it's different. So, like we were talking about the worms, you're not going to find worms off the farm. So they
in this area.
In this area. Yeah. You head north and you will, but here you're not going to find those.
Or anybody else that's growing like we are, then you'll find them. But none of our neighbors.
No.
Except for Tara had some worms in her garden bed.
There you go. So she's got it going.
Yeah. All right, Slam Boy, my favorite activity is cleaning koi pond.
Really?
Interesting.
That is interesting. So is it like a Zen thing for you? That's my guess.
Yeah.
It's got to be. I'll be honest with you. There are times when I'm turning compost, I'm not thinking of anything else because it's physical activity. As strange as it sounds, we always talk about always dealing with poop here. We're always dealing with poop. And turning compost, I don't always mind that.
Yeah.
So I don't know why. Shoveling, you know what?
Yep. All right. Do you both remember details from the day you met?
The day we met, yes. Oh, I do. Yes, I do.
Wait, are you okay? So
It's just farming related. Go ahead.
we could go on and on and on about this. So so technically, I don't know if we officially met, but it was
I know when we met.
Interview in the San Diego Sports Authority trailer. Mm-hmm. He actually interviewed my best friend. I interviewed with somebody else.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So, and we were fighting over who got to interview you guys because it was all guys in the trailer. It's a sporting goods store. Hello.
You have two
20-year-old
20-year-old
20-year-old blondes walk up. Yeah, you already know how this is going to go. Let's just say that I didn't get a chance to interview anybody. So, yeah, store manager.
You interviewed Wendy.
No, I think I was the second person. It wasn't me.
Oh.
Yeah, no. So,
Anyways. Yeah, so it was in San Diego in an interview.
The first day that we actually talked was when we were doing mass receiving. You guys probably don't want to know all these details.
It's a long story.
It's a long, sordid tale.
We've been married for 27 years.
Yep, but no, I remember that day. Day clearly. So.
All right, how to make our cashew mandarins sweeter. Thanks.
Oh, I never had a cashew mandarin.
Yeah.
So make it sweeter. I don't know that I can answer that question. I will say if it's tart, it may not be ripe. If the tree is young, the tree's not mature, so the fruit's not maturing completely. We have seen that, especially with citrus. So that will change over time. I don't know how old your tree is. So, we talked earlier about thinning. So make sure you're thinning. Make sure you're irrigating regularly. So infrequent during the wintertime, but you still need to be irrigating, especially your citrus trees. They're trying to ripen fruit for you. That's really about it. The rest of it's going to be based on the fruit itself. So, we had a mandarin here a few minutes ago, the Tango mandarins, very, very sweet, very, very little tart. We didn't bust open the gold nugget. This is the gold nugget mandarin.
But the daisies are really sweet too.
The daisies are super sweet, and those are really early. This gold nugget mandarin, this one's going to have some tart to it.
Yeah.
So this one is not as sweet as the Tango. And then we have the honey, as the name implies, that's this little guy here. Really sweet. We have this small honey. It's ultra, ultra sweet today. When we first harvested this back in November, it was tart. So, here we are, 3 months later, 4 months later, and this is almost completely sweet. But it's also held on to tree. So they don't always hold on to the tree that long. So any of those things could affect that flavor. But it could just be the variety.
Yeah, everyone says berries need low pH soil. Do you add acid to your berry soil?
No, so we don't. And the Primark, we have tried a lot of different blackberry varieties. We've tried several of the desert type low chill varieties. The only one that we've had consistent success with is the Primark Freedom Blackberry. It does really well. Doesn't propagate very easily, but it does really, really well. And it's right in the soil. We've got one up front here that all it is completely just the soil. Really, they're all just in our soil, but it's just wood chips in our dirt. We have the blackberry beds that we did a little bit of prep. That's basically just wood chips, though, that have broken down. And then we have the berry cane patch, which is where we had the pigs the first season. We covered that with sorghum, and then we covered that with wood chips, and then we planted into that, and we've got a Primark doing really, really well there. So it's done well in all those areas, but we've never touched the pH.
All right, so I'm in Oregon, planted tons of fruit trees and lost most of them from heat and lack of water. Just replanted with the water rings you recommended. Hopefully I get a better result this year. Yes,
and so you didn't mention where you're at in Oregon, but I have family in Southern Oregon. I grew up going there for 2 weeks every summer. So we were there end of June, beginning of July. Basically Grants Pass. So Grants Pass, Medford area. And I remember distinctly 100 plus degree days of being scorching hot there. So, that's hot. And it was dry. There was no rain most of the time while we were there. Up in the mountains it'd get some, but not down there in the valley. And it was hot. Yeah. So actually you were there. We were there just a few years ago with my grandpa's funeral. And we were there in the middle of summer. It was hotter there than it was here.
Yeah.
So yeah, those rings will do well for you. Yep.
And make sure you're painting the trunk too, so you're not getting sunburn on the trunks. Let's see, Aaron, how many critters have your cats brought to you?
So far, the only one that's caught anything other than lizards is Cleo. That's our orange cat. So our orange tabby. So
Yeah,
she's our huntress.
She is.
Yep.
She's gotten a couple of birds. All of them have ended up getting away.
They all
'cause
got
she
away.
hasn't figured out the whole kill thing yet.
Nope.
And then she's gotten a mouse. And same thing.
Yep.
But yeah, her and Theo like to catch lizards.
Yeah, they do it maybe because they can. They're just a little bit slower.
All right. Would grapevines also produce grapes even if they are not pruned at all? I have a grapevine on my balcony, but I want it to cover as much space as possible.
We should probably cover how we are pruning our grapevines against the fence and do another one on how we're doing the arbor. So you can do both. So you can grow your grapevines over your balcony and trellising. You can do that and still prune them each season for production. So you can do both. So the key would be the variety. So how you're going to prune it each season, that is different. I would choose a spur pruned variety because those you're pruning back to a spur each season. You can easily basically set those wherever you need them, wherever you want basically your vines to cascade down over the area or grow up. Cane pruned ones would be a little more difficult, but yes, you'll still get some great production. It just won't be as heavy as if you were pruning them back. They do much better when you prune them back heavy. I would say instead of either or, do both. So a spur prune variety like a flame would be a great option. And each season you can extend the cordon, do 1 or 2 or even 3 cordons. So have a trunk and then split that trunk. We got it into 2. You can split it into 3 or 4 and then basically grow those cordons up to the top of your trellising. And then you're going to get 10, 15, 20 feet of growth each season. So you can prune back to each one of your spurs because they're all going to die in the wintertime. It's going to look interesting, but prune them all back and they grow rapidly in the spring. And here in Arizona, those are covering your trellis from basically April until what, January? I mean, they don't start losing their leaves until December. And so almost all year long, you've got this growth on there. So yeah, you could really do both.
All right, getting ready to plant gooseberries, currants, and kiwi.
Ooh, that sounds,
Daryl.
Kiwi. I'm definitely jealous of the kiwi.
How have the cats helped with the farm so far?
So they are right now fun to have around.
They follow us around like puppy dogs.
They do.
So they basically come when you call them. So we have them trained really well.
Yep.
And we're working on the rodent thing.
Yeah, so I will say this. We were talking about it this morning. So one thing that we have not seen, and keep in mind, quail season is October through February. We have not seen quail anywhere near the garden area, which is just off the back patio. We haven't seen quail at all winter long. We haven't seen them. And since those cats have been out, we see very few birds in the garden area.
Yeah.
So
they're in the orchards, just that they're further away.
Yep.
Yeah, and then in the back. They're always back by the pigs.
Yep.
To get
So
feed.
I think the biggest thing is once everything really comes back out of dormancy, so the ground squirrels start coming around because they are all about those ground squirrel holes.
Yeah.
They
stick their paws in there and dig around.
They know there's something scrumptious in there.
Yeah.
So far they're not outside full time yet. So we'll see. So
All right, just bought 11 acres in Golden Valley. Definitely been watching your videos.
cool. Awesome.
This covers up part of the word. So I want to start a farm, ranch. Any initial tips?
Yeah, so we do consultations and the questions always kind of tend to be about the same and a lot of the instructions are similar. So you'll see if you go back and just kind of look, you don't have to watch all the videos. Well, you should watch all of our videos.
There's over 600. I wouldn't.
Watch them all, especially all the commercials.
Especially the commercials, yes, but the earlier videos, no. You will want to choke yourself.
Yes, but if you just kind of watch our progression, we've got a playlist. It's called Desert to Farm. And we haven't added to it for a couple of years now since we basically had it established. But we put videos in there that kind of had milestones. And so what you'll kind of see is the progression of the farm.
Yeah.
On the old farm, we had a plan. So we had the whole farm mapped out. We still have the dry erase board that shows almost exactly what this farm looks like. What you see today, we had planned out before we stepped foot on the property. We put in, you need a couple things. Number one, water. We're in the desert. You have to plan for water. You need water everywhere. You have to get irrigation. It was our number one priority. First thing we did was first thing in the ground was PVC pipe here. So, because we needed water everywhere. We've got water that can reach any part of the property. So water. Second thing would be access. Make sure you can access your entire property. As acreage gets bigger, it's really easy to fill in access. You need to make sure you have access. You're going to be driving back there for one thing or another, or at least walking back there. And keep in mind, there always is a risk of fire. And so you want to make sure a fire truck can get anywhere on your property to put that fire out. And so access, so water, access, and then the other thing would be the solar aspect. So if you have trees, that reduces sun or solar exposure. If you have a building, that reduces solar exposure. So all of those things are important for a myriad of things, but so you want to kind of keep that in mind. So if you have a hill or a mountain, some people with a lot, we've been on a few consultations where they've had, dozens or 100+ acres. You had valleys and ravines, and you had all these other things going on. So those would be the things that I would tell you. The other thing is we use permaculture zones. We designed the farm with permaculture zones in mind. You'll notice if you take a peek at the intro to all our videos, there's a lot of open space, especially on the back of the farm. The reason why that's still open, number one, we didn't have it planned. We didn't have it planned out by the time we got here. And number two, that's zone 4 for us. So it is an area that we don't expect to touch much. We have some zone 5 areas here, which means we don't touch them at all. We leave them just the way they are. And so, but all of our production was centered around zone 0, the house, zone 1, things we walk to every day, zone 2, things that we walk to frequently. So those are the things we keyed in on. You'll notice our orchard, our garden beds, our chickens, all those things are closer to the house, closer to water, closer to all these things, and we can get to them easily. Our animals are all closer to the house with a couple of exceptions. So we use that permaculture zone program. Last thing I would tell you is don't take on too much.
That's exactly what I was thinking is, the biggest thing is having a plan and starting, don't try to like think of the whole thing as a whole. Focus on one area or one, thing at a time, basically. Because if not, you're going to have about 10 different things going and
things will be
pulling your hair out
and nothing will get accomplished.
Yeah.
And you'll get overwhelmed and you could just give up. So, that's happened to people before. You'll reach a breaking point. Even doing all this, I reached a breaking point about 1.5 years ago. So yeah, don't take on too much. Do one thing at a time. If it's something that you're learning, give yourself a year to learn that thing and then move on to the next. If you want, you may want fruit trees and gardens and chickens and goats and pigs and sheep and a horse and a donkey and all of these.
Don't try to do them all at once.
You're going to kill donkeys. You're going to kill chickens. You're going to kill pigs. You're going to do all these things. And so choose something, start with that, get really good and proficient at it, and then move through that. If you're looking for food production, remember, fruit trees take a few years. We focused on fruit trees first. The reason why, we knew that it was going to take until about now before we really got a lot of production. And take your time. You got time.
You'll never be finished.
And you'll definitely never be finished. So let's see, we're just over an hour. We're going to try to wrap up here. We got some questions we're going to try to get to here real quick.
Okay, what is the best way to compost chicken manure? Can I use them without composting?
Yes, you can use it without composting. We prefer to age ours. So we just basically let it out, water it down a few times a week, and it will age. So it becomes a little more mellow. Just remember, it's very high in nitrogen. You can use it fresh. If you do, use it off season. So use it at the end of a season. We do that on our garden beds. We'll sprinkle a little bit over the top with wood chips, compost in place in the off season while it's covered. And that way it's a little more mellow once you go back in to plant it.
All right. In Oregon, with pretty much no rainfall and super hot summers, how many gallons per week of water should I give each new tree?
So we started out with we watered once a week, and we put about 60 gallons per tree. And that's good for your first year. You shouldn't need more than that. You can split that up into two. So if it seems they're struggling, split that up into twice a week. But 60 gallons is plenty, especially if you're using our rings. That'll fill those rings depending on how fast you're filling them. We have gone to a few of our peak summer. We had record-breaking last summer, days above 110. We were doing that twice a week. So twice a week we were putting 60 gallons on. So it was a lot, but we didn't lose a tree for the summer itself.
Yeah,
so,
and we just kind of watch the trees, and they'll tell us, if it's starting to struggle, then we adjusted it.
Yep.
Any plans to start an eatery or farm restaurant shop that will serve your produce?
We've talked about it.
No.
Yeah, we don't have any hard plans for that yet. I think we would need a business partner for that.
All right, regarding the cats, are they problematic with their duty in the gardens? Cats are constantly soiling my gardens, and I'm afraid to plant food.
So all of our garden beds, so yes, they would, but all of our garden beds are basically enclosed. So as long as you have, bird netting up, you have them protected down at the bottom, we use block. So we're trying to keep out rabbits, squirrels, so cats are part of that group. So if you do those things, you got to keep birds out anyway. And so, generally, if you're keeping birds out, you're probably going to keep your cats out. So you'd be fine. You're going to need all those things anyway. So yeah, definitely go for it. The kitties won't get in if the other things can't get in. Although they'll try.
All right. Hello, Dwayne and Lori. I hope you're doing well. It's nice and windy today.
Oh,
it is very windy.
It is.
We noticed that as well.
And it was perfectly still this morning.
Yeah.
So, all right, how are we doing? Got any more questions? Because we're going to say bye here, guys.
Oh, George was referring back to someone that you can let your grapevines go wild with no pruning, but quality and crop yields will suffer. If you want to cover an area for aesthetics reasons, prune selectively to avoid tangling.
Thank you, George. So, George, thank you. I'm so glad you answered. I was hoping that you would. You were still here and you would answer that question. Thank you. George, by the way, has decades of experience doing that. So he's the guy to pay attention to.
He's the grapevine guy.
He is the grapevine guy.
And then Daryl, bye guys. Have a great
awesome.
weekend.
Yes, Daryl, have a great weekend. All right, guys. This has been the Desert Farmer Podcast. We're going to hang out here. If you guys have a couple more questions, once we drop out of here, we'll do our best to answer those. And then we will plan on seeing you guys next month.
Yes.
So beginning of the month, first Saturday of the month, 2 p.m. Arizona time seems to work pretty good. We had a pretty good turnout today. So we're going to try to stick to that schedule for you guys. We have some good content coming up here over the next few weeks. We are trying to focus on how-to videos this year, but we do need to get a vlog up or two.
Yeah.
Because we need to give all you guys
a little bit of an update.
Yeah, I need a bit of an update so you guys can see the farm, so keep an eye out for that. So again, guys, thank you so much for spending this time with us today, and we will see you next time on the Desert Farmer Podcast.
Bye.
Bye. All right, you can just put dismiss on